let me wrap this up. This is part two. They wanted me to accept this psyop, and using these distortions, disorientation, and these deceptions that they implement on a non-stop level. But thanks to the testimonies, obviously thanks to knowing myself at this point, but also thanks to all the testimonials and anybody who provided some information and what I read, and I was able to see things for what they were. Just a bunch of people trying to disorient you, deceive, and distort reality in order for you to accept these manipulations. And it's so pathetic. And right now, they're trying to go into a story. For example, let me just say this: the way this distorting this story. When I was younger, I was with this girl, right? And she said something, right, about something that happened to a girlfriend that she used to date. She was dating also girls, right? I was younger, and and I was jealous, and I was 20 years old. She said something, oh, this person did something happen to her when she was a kid, and I was like, I didn't know what to respond to by, and I said, you know what? I know somebody that happened to. I know somebody that this happened to. Like, I didn't. It's just me trying to respond, no knowing what to say, and kind of jealous, right? Very immature response. And she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't brag about that." So I was like, "Okay." And now what they're trying to say is like, what you're saying is like you knew what you did when you were a kid, and try to distort the reality is like, oh no, you're just saying that you knew that you did that when you were a kid, and that's what you were saying. First of all, what they distort reality of what I did when I was a kid, right? As a kid, the distorting reality they put together is something that they have to exaggerate. They wish I molested a child. They wish I raped a child. But the reality, as in 8th grade, did something to myself. And I don't want to go into details when I was a kid. But they like to distort reality. And because they want to use that as a reason why they're doing this thing to me, they are trying to push it to a level of exaggerated to whatever end they can. And so this story with me at the time with this girlfriend, when I just like, oh, I know somebody, trying to just say something as some immature 20-year-old doesn't know, and she was like, you shouldn't be bragging about knowing things like somebody who went through these things, and she was right, but then just me saying some immature thing and not knowing what to respond to, just like me too. I know somebody like that too. It's like as if it's a good thing, but it's they try to change into difference. Like, oh, you were talking about you knowing what you did when you were a kid, and just stupidity. And this is the things they wanted to exaggerate, distort reality of exactly what I did when I was a child. And now there's a new version, a distorted reality, which is that, right? So you gotta understand, distortions, disorientation, and deceptions is all they do. Because today, what's happening to me is I'm getting forced to get nasty sexual stimulation aimed toward children, especially black little girls. But all little girls for sure, and even little boys. It's so nasty. And they go through disorientation, deceptions, and distortions of reality to try to get you to accept these things. And so you gotta see that for what it is. And everything is trying to distort reality. Every time it's trying to disorient you. Everything is trying to deceive you into accepting something. Well, at this point, you can't. Because they've been humiliated by the fact that they actually work for entities filled with pedophiles. And this is when you kind of, for me, I'm starting like, things become a little bit spiritual. Because these things comes out, for example, that these people were trying to call me a pedophile when in reality they work for entities filled with pedophiles. On top of that, they torture children sexually. On top of that, they do the pedophilia type of torture systematically. Other target individuals have been saying that, literally saying they do this pedophilia type of torture. And all they've been doing is try to disorient me, distort reality, and deceive for me to accept these manipulations. Those 3Ds all the time utilized. That's when you know that, and for me, like seeing these things and this news about these articles talking about these entities which they work for, which, let me just say this even better, they are contracted by. There's a difference. Those people are truly civilians, most of them. They are contracted by those entities. And these entities shows them the protocol of how to work with this technology and what to do, which is disorient, distort, and deceive reality, and deceive the target individual into accepting this false reality. All the time, those 3Ds are always implemented. And it is a coincidence that, like when people write about the tactics of the Satan, you'll hear about those three. Now I understand that the Department of Defense intelligence community would utilize those tactics because those tactics are utilized in like in ways to harm somebody, and their job is to harm me in different ways, in psychologically at least. So they will utilize that tactics, and that's why I can see why people can just imagine differently the spiritual war aspect of it, because they utilize tactics that people will literally call it like this, the tactic of the Satan. But for me, I see it for tactics to make somebody accept a false reality, because this technology rewires your brain, manipulates your brain, and they want you to subscribe to this falsified reality, and they distort reality, and they disorient you, and they deceive beyond, deceiveness to a level that you don't understand. Deceive you to accept false memory, deceive you to try to make you accept narratives that falsify. This is non-stop. So to all my target individual, when this is happening to you, remember that those 3Ds they're gonna always implement. They're gonna try to disorient you. You're gonna hear noise campaign. You're gonna hear somebody say some random things just out of nowhere. You're gonna hear some distortion of reality. They're gonna falsify reality, narration that falsify. They're gonna paint you in a distorted way. They're gonna try to do everything possible to distort you. You just heard the story I just talked about. This is how they distorted in that way. And the deception is something that you even don't understand, because mind you, those entities that I talk about, the CIA, they are renowned for all three things at a level that we don't understand. There's people that live and eat that 24/7, and they know how to do this thing to a level that you don't understand. We're talking about entities that really live off that. So you talk about deception, you think, like, it's just like this is the world they're in. So that's what they're gonna do to you all the time, because this is those entities have come up with, is what's been implemented to you. I see, like, listen, I cannot talk about the specifics, but I can tell you that these three things have always been done to me every time they do these manipulations. They manipulate me, and then they try to disorient me, so I don't, like, I get confused. Then they always distort something. So they say some story, and they put a twist onto it, and they always distort memories all the time, manipulate it, falsify, and then they try to deceive you into accepting this. The distortions and the disorientation usually comes from, like, in repetitions after the deception. To all my target individual, stay strong, and remember those three things. These bottom feeders, this trash, this program will do three things all the time: disorient you, distort reality, distortion, and deceive. So understand that and take that as that. And so to all my target individuals, stay strong. I know I do pray. I haven't been praying as much, but when I pray, I just thank God that I'm not living my life doing these three things all the time. Try to disorient somebody, try to distort reality, and try to deceive somebody, and live that life 24/7, and try to call it a war, because they're not a war for sure. They are working on a human guinea pig, and they're going to continuously do these things systematically till the guinea pig subscribe or identify to this. With me, it's never going to happen, so I understand there's going to be torture. It's physical torture, intense physical torture implemented onto me. So to all my target individuals, stay strong and know that justice will be done, because these people have done too much nasty things to people, and they've been distorting reality, disorienting reality, and disorienting people and deceiving people non-stop. Stay strong.